Part 41. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Shuang. Chapter 401. Wangsu is still very good at being a person in front of others, especially since his appearance is not bad to begin with. He keeps smiling and looks like a polite gentleman, which makes people very fond of him. The effect of the program came out immediately. Other people in the village got to know Wangsu after these few days, and with his good attitude, everyone in the village had a good impression of him. He knew that Lin Mei was coming, so when he went to the village entrance, there were people greeting him on the roadside. The effect of the program came out immediately. He naturally responded with a smile, and from time to time he could chat with people in the village. Of course, there was another burst of praise on the barrage for how polite and popular he was. Lin Mei also received the news, and naturally knew that Wensu was in the village now. This time Su Xiao accompanied her into the scene. The live broadcast had already begun. Su Xiao deliberately brought the topic to Wensu. Even if Lin Mei didn't want to talk to her, she still knew that the program must be effective. At that moment, she made a very artificial surprised expression when she heard Wensu's name. Ah, is brother Wensu here? In terms of age, Wangsu is older than her, so there is nothing wrong with calling her brother Wangsu. Seeing her exaggerated look, Su Xiao almost couldn't hold back his laughter and said, "Yes, he is already in the village now. Remember to take him for a walk in the village these days." At this moment, Lin Mei told the truth and said with a smile, "It's actually quite boring. Do you think she would agree if I said I would help Wan Wan plant vegetables?" "This is not a question of agreement or disagreement," Su smiled and said, "just think about the vegetables she planted together with the incense. A plant of incense costs millions. If you accidentally step on it, the price is still a trivial matter. The question is, do you dare to go?" Lin Mei. Now that the show was in effect, the main camera moved to Lin Mei's side, and the audience in the live broadcast room burst into laughter. There are also some people who don't know the situation and think it's outrageous that vegetables and world-famous flower seeds are grown together in Yingwan's field. My mother's vegetable garden in Banglangxiang is really viable? Banglangxiang is a newly developed new species. It is quite easy to grow, but it seems to have some requirements for the climate. It cannot be grown in some places, but it is very beautiful. The black and purple cherry blossoms are so beautiful. The question is not whether Banglangxiang is easy to grow, it is quite outrageous when grown together with vegetables. Ha 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 ha. Academician Ying really does not take the usual path in doing things. $1 million pill simply breaks through the imagination of poor people. Upstairs, this is not just a question of how many millions of flower has. The key is that this flower species is currently extremely rare and cannot be bought even if you have money. In the past few years, the richest man even bought a few of them and they were in the news. Lin Mei thought of the millions of incense sticks. Maybe they were nothing to her now, but for someone like her who had never been in the fields, if they accidentally destroyed them when they went into the fields, Lin Mei thought of them. One tree was quite outrageous, so Lin Mei gave up the idea. But when she thought of Wensu, she still couldn't feel happy inside. Her facial expression management was a bit poor, but since she hadn't seen Wensu now, it wouldn't be too surprising if she acted coldly. Nowadays, celebrity fans are still very crazy. No matter how much Lin Mei doesn't like Wensu, she won't make a bad face on the spot. Who doesn't know how to act? Otherwise, it will bring trouble to Yingwan. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Shuang. Chapter 402. When Lin Mei arrived at the entrance of the village, she saw Wensu. In this village, apart from Si Lu, he was the most eye-catching. Wearing a shirt worth tens of thousands of yuan, it was more than eye-catching. When she got off the car, Wensu was talking to Zhao Yili, a child in the village. Zhao Yili stood in front of Wensu holding candy, but the child didn't seem to be interested in Wensu. He lowered his head and ate his candy while Wensu was talking. Wensu recognized the candy jar. It was a very famous brand. He bought it for his niece. Basically, it cost thousands of yuan per can. His eyelids twitched, thinking that this village really became a phoenix village after meeting Yingwan, and even children could eat candy jars worth thousands of yuan. But he couldn't restrain his curiosity, so he asked, "Little baby, where did you buy this candy? Is it delicious?" Zhao Yili raised his head and glanced at him. His voice was sweet, but it sounded a little bland. "Sister Wanwan gave it to me." Wen Su thought to himself that as expected, he became interested and raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Wow, it was Sister Yingwan who gave it to you? Sister Yingwan is so nice." Although he had been in the village for 3 days, in order not to make people think that he was eating badly, he still claimed to have arrived last night. Speaking to children should be especially gentle. Zhao Yili was originally an ordinary child, but he seemed to dislike Wen Su particularly. When he heard what Wen Su said, he curled his lips. "Of course I know Sister Wanwan is good, do you need me to say it?" But he was too young, and even if he had any bad intentions, people couldn't see it. Instead, because of this attack on Wen Su, it had a show effect. The live broadcast was full of laughter. If Wen Su didn't know that the other party was a child, he would have almost gritted his teeth. This little brat has been there for a few days, but he still doesn't give him any face. It's not the first time I greeted him these days. He is the youngest in the village and should be the easiest to win over. I didn't expect Zhao Yili to not give him face. Wen Su suspected for a moment that Zhao Yili would do it on purpose. But what does a 3-year-old child know? No matter how big the malice is, it can be covered up by saying that the child is ignorant. What's more, Zhao Yili just doesn't like him. To be honest, it's far from malicious. It's probably just that he doesn't like Wen Su. Lin Mei got off the car in the distance and saw Zhao Yili scolding Wen Su. She almost laughed on the spot. Knowing that it was a show, she couldn't help laughing. "Ha ha ha, Wen Su, you are too lame. How come you are targeted by a child?" Fortunately, Zhao Yili is a child. People who don't know think that Lin Mei and Wen Su have a good relationship and that's why she scolded him. In fact, Lin Mei just didn't like Wen Su and scolded him directly. The audience didn't know. The audience only thinks that Lin Mei and Wen Su have a good relationship. After all, the two have worked together before. Wen Su's fans felt something was wrong, but they couldn't tell. After all, Lin Mei was live streaming, so even if she hated Wen Su, she couldn't show it so openly, right? Besides, Wen Su was loved by everyone. They must have a good relationship, yeah, that's it. But Wen Su knew that Lin Mei was scolding him. Because they were not close, except for a short cooperation, they had not had any contact in private for several years. When Wen Su heard Lin Mei's words, he felt a pang in his heart and knew he was in trouble. Lin Mei's dislike for him was too obvious. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 403. Of course, maybe he was just being mean, but he just had a bad feeling for no reason. He still had a relaxed and warm smile on his face. Children are like this, naughty. Ili is very cute. Zhao Ili heard this, hugged his candy jar, snorted coldly, and walked away. Su Xiao almost laughed out loud, thinking that Wen Su was really lame. He had been in the village for 3 days. With his way of dealing with people, he should have been able to control this child. Unexpectedly, he couldn't even handle Zhao Ili. He didn't show it on his face, pushed Lin Mei's suitcase to herself, and walked out of the camera. In order to show his gentlemanliness, Wen Su immediately stepped forward to take Lin Mei's suitcase. "I'll do it." He was relaxed and not overly enthusiastic about Lin Mei. He was a body length away from Lin Mei. After all, it was a live broadcast, there was no time to think, and it all depended on the performance on the spot. In order not to make people think he had intentions, Wen-su had to maintain a demeanor. Of course, Lin Mei was not polite, and she pretended to be reserved and hypocritical. It's okay, this suitcase is very light. Wen-su couldn't really let her come, so she said very carefully and gently, it's okay, it must be inconvenient for you to wear high heels, I'll help you take it by the way. Lin Mei nodded and said with a smile, you have been here for a long time, right? Sorry to have kept you waiting. This is a double entendre. Wen-su smiled politely, not long, just arrived last night, you must be tired from filming, right? It's fine, tiredness is not a problem, it's just running around for notices, sitting on the plane all the time, non-stop, like a spinning top. Su Xiao stared at the two people chatting, and felt a little relieved in his heart. Even if Lin Mei hated it, she didn't expect that she could talk to Wen-su, as long as the two of them didn't get bored. But this sentence was hurting Wen-su's heart. Although Wen-su maintained a kind of enthusiasm, it was because he had been in the circle for a long time. With his status, he is actually in a rather awkward situation. He cannot get the best resources. Everyone has the current super traffic. He does not have the qualifications to get the high-end resources. It would be too cheap for him to go to ordinary announcement programs with his status. Lin Mei said that she was running around for announcements, but in essence, her status and status are similar to Wen-su, so her choices are not that wide. But she is running around for announcements now, which means that there are a lot of good resources for her to choose from, all of which Wen-su can't even ask for. For example, the Ji family high-end luxury that was in turmoil some time ago is now in contact with Lin Mei. Wen-su felt bad when he heard it, thinking that this person was not as good as him before, but because he had a good sister, he flew to the sky overnight and became a person that everyone in the circle looked up to. Not only did he have no worries about resources, but no one dared to make trouble for him. He was no longer on the same level as them. Wen-su felt bitter when he heard it, but he had to comfort her, it's very hard, it's really too busy. Su Xiao secretly sighed in his heart, killing people without blood. But Wen-su has such a good image, but everyone in the circle knows that he is nothing. At least just because he relies on women to get to the top and dumps others, he is cheap in the eyes of women. Especially Lin Mei, who has a clear distinction between love and hate, can't stand it. As they were talking, they had already arrived at Yingwan's house on the hillside. Seeing the place, Wen-su finally breathed a sigh of relief. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 404. Wen-su has seen this place countless times in the past 3 days. He just doesn't have the courage to step in. First, there is a threatening Si Lu, and second, there is no suitable excuse. He heard that Yingwan has been busy recently, and he dared not go to Yingwan without knowing the situation. When he arrived at the fence gate, he saw Lin Mei open the fence gate very naturally. Knowing that they were coming back, Yingwan did not close the door. Xiao He barked at Lin Mei, but he was not fierce. He even wagged his tail at Lin Mei when he barked. De He walked up and greeted her as usual, have you eaten? Wen-su knew the identity of De He from the show, and was quite surprised to see such a robot. Lin Mei waved her hand, dragged the suitcase in Wen-su's hand and pushed it in, looking very happy, Wan Wan, I'm here. She shouted loudly, and a slender figure walked out of the inner room. That night, they just met briefly, and now seeing Yingwan again in broad daylight, Wen-su's heart jumped. I won't talk about Yingwan's appearance, which is exquisite and beautiful, and her facial features are not much inferior to Lin Mei's. The most obvious difference between her and Lin Mei is her transparent temperament. Maybe she is used to staying in a secluded place, and she has a kind of orchid in the valley, which reminds people of the jasmine in spring. A beautiful woman with a very peaceful temperament. She just washed her hair and is still blowing it. She doesn't feel it when she wears a bun on weekdays, but now her hair is hanging down, and her black and shiny hair. I don't know what conditioner she used. It looks like the kind of advertisements on TV, like silk. She has long hair, more like a flower on the cliff in the valley, exuding a beauty that makes people look up. Are you washing your hair? Lin Mei's eyes lit up and she wanted to rush up to blow Yingwan's hair, but there was Wensu next to her, so she had to do fake business. She immediately introduced to Yingwan, Wan, this is Wensu, who was chosen to live with us for a week, just like Chen Shiken last month. Wensu walked up and greeted generously, hello, Yingwan. Yingwan nodded, hello. After all, they had met a few days ago, but the program team implicitly mentioned that the audience should not know when Wensu arrived. Yingwan didn't say much, just said, I just washed my hair and haven't blown it dry yet. You sit for a while. There are food in the room. You can help yourself. Okay, go ahead. Do you want me to help you blow your hair? Lin Mei looked at Yingwan's hair and felt a little envious for a while. What kind of conditioner are you using? I want to ask, your hair quality is too good. Yingwan, homemade, I need to mix it for you if you want to use it. Awanwan's hair is also very beautiful. I usually think that her hair is very shiny when she ties a bun, and now it looks so smooth. I finally saw the hair effect that can only be seen in advertisements in reality. I was very tempted, but when I heard it was homemade, I knew I was not worthy. What academician Yingwan used could not be ordinary stuff. People of their level must have daily necessities according to their physical qualifications. I am really envious. I don't know why, but I always feel weird. When Chen Shiken came last month, Lin Mei was not like this. She was very enthusiastic. Now it feels like she is deliberately ignoring Wensu. It's poisonous. I feel that Lin Mei is ignoring Wensu after only meeting for a few minutes. Didn't they chat well on the way here? Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 405. The following time was very different from what Wensu had imagined. Although the two of them stayed at Yingwan's house, Yingwan was busy with her own things. And because it was Lin Mei's home court, the program crew didn't dare to intervene even if she often stayed in the bedroom. This live broadcast became a live broadcast of Lin Mei and Wensu. Although she didn't like it, Lin Mei didn't show any abnormality. However, Wensu knew from her behavior that Lin Mei was deliberately making trouble for him. For example, in the previous episodes, Lin Mei obviously didn't have much interest in farm work, and occasionally helped Yingwan. But in this episode, she showed great interest in farm work, saying that a script she was planning to take on recently had this related part, and she had to learn it in advance. She didn't dare to mess with Yingwan's acres of land, so she did other things first. That afternoon, she took Wensu to fish in the pond. To be honest, neither of them knew how to do it. The program effect was great, but it made Wensu tired and angry. Lin Mei didn't do anything, just encouraging him by the pond. For the sake of her image, Wensu could only hold back his laughter, and Lin Mei let him fish. They still used the traditional and ancient way. They could fish, but there were many fish in the pond, so they could just use a net bag to catch them. Even so, it was still a big test for them, especially when Wensu kept waving the net bag, but he didn't catch any fish. In the end, God couldn't bear it anymore and let him catch a small fish and a 2-pound fish. There was a pond in Yingwan's yard. She had to do it in the big pond outside. Wensu's waist was about to break in the afternoon, and Lin Mei was groaning and saying that she was almost exhausted. Wensu had to smile with stiff cheeks to comfort her. In order not to make her suffer, he could only do more. Wensu was not free until dinner time. Perhaps the only consolation was to eat the food made by Yingwan. But because he was too tired in the afternoon, Wensu really didn't have the energy to toss anything else. Before going off the air, he barely coped with today's live broadcast with a smile. He only felt that the food made by Yingwan was indeed super delicious, but other than that, nothing else. Yingwan doesn't like to talk. She has always been like this. It can be seen that she has nothing to say to Wensu. It is impossible for Wensu to force the other party to respond by licking his face. Until 8 o'clock in the evening, Wensu, who was live on the first day, was finally liberated. The key is that a large group of viewers in the afternoon felt that the effect was very good and great. It was much more joyful than the boring life before. Only some of Wensu's fans could see that Wensu was not right, but they dared not say anything because of the public concept. After all, Lin Mei's fans and Yingwan's fans are not something they can provoke. Especially since many of the people watching the live broadcast were passers-by. If their fans were too sensitive, it would cause disgust among passers-by. He returned to his house in the second half of the night. When he saw his agent, his face was so gloomy that it seemed like water could drip out. "She's deliberately making fun of me." The words came out of her teeth, and the agent sighed, "Who doesn't know? But the effect is really good." The number of viewers in the live broadcast room exceeded 15 million this afternoon. This traffic is beyond the reach of many viewers. You should be thankful that you and Lin Mei's live broadcast can reach this traffic without Yingwan appearing much. The effect is too good for you. Wensu sat down and took a big gulp of water. "She won't let me have an easy time in the next few days." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 406. As if thinking of something, Wensu looked up at his agent again. "Have I offended her before?" Everyone is in the circle, and you can still feel whether their attitude is good or not. When Lin Mei went off the air, it was also very obvious that Wensu didn't want to continue the business. That's not the case, is it? The agent frowned and thought carefully. Your fans and her fans didn't have much intersection before, and you two didn't have much contact except for a short cooperation. It's impossible to offend. But there was an idea that the agent still muttered. Is it because of your past? What things in the past? Wensu understood it immediately. It's just those things that he dumped the person when he was in a relationship in the past. He was still a little unconvinced when he heard it. We are all in the circle, and I am not the only one who did these things. Besides, I made up for them later. As a star, she still cares about these. There is no conflict between her and me, so why does she target me? If you want to be famous, who has to pay a price? Agent. It's not you who pays the price. It's just that he didn't have the courage to say this. That doesn't mean he doesn't agree with Wensu. After all, he has been with Wensu for so long, and he knows Wensu's character very well. He said, "I'll ask Lin Mei's agent what's going on. I advise you to bear it. We are not on the same level now. If you don't behave properly, you will suffer. It's just 1 week. You can bear it?" It's a bit tiring, but she doesn't dare to do anything else. Think about what happened this afternoon. She and you are still very effective in the show. If you use it well, you can hype up your CP. Of course, CP can't be hyped casually. If one party refuses to cooperate, especially with Lin Mei's attitude, then Wensu will definitely be swollen. So it's better to ask clearly first. The agent didn't have much hope, but he still went to Su Xiao to discuss it. Wensu could only wait for the news from the agent. But thinking that he didn't do anything all day and was very tired, he really didn't have any ideas, so he could only take a shower first. Too tired, now I just want to fall asleep. The agent came back after a while and brought Wensu an expected message. Su Xiao disagrees. The agent's face was also calm. After all, there were no cameras at the time, and Su Xiao's words were not pleasant. It was indeed directed at what Wen Su had done. We can let him come to record this program and meet Academician Ying. That is out of respect for the work. As for other things, don't even think about it. If it were in the past, Su Xiao would never say such direct and excessive words, but who let him be arrogant now? If you want to deal with Lin Mei, you have to wait for Ying Wan to fall, but looking at Ying Wan's status, can it be a fall? As long as Ying Wan is there, Lin Mei can be arrogant for the rest of her life. Su Xiao was of course not polite when he spoke. Wen Su was not surprised. He had already thought that Lin Mei really didn't need to hype CP with him. When he came, he still thought this trip was profitable, but he didn't expect Lin Mei didn't like him. Wen Su's heart was getting more and more blocked. He realized that life was not easy, but he thought that the huge traffic was indeed necessary for his turnaround, so he endured it again. As long as he doesn't offend Lin Mei and Su Xiao, he will definitely turn things around. With such a large amount of traffic, there will always be a considerable number of people who will become his fans. His good days are about to begin, so it's okay to suffer a little, because he can't afford to offend them. I'll resume updating after I'm done with the work. There will be less today, but more will be updated later. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 407. She was stabbed by Lin Mei's manager in the evening. Of course, Su Xiao also told Lin Mei about this. At that time, Lin Mei was applying a facial mask in her room, thinking about how to deal with her mood tomorrow. Doesn't she know Wen Su's purpose? Don't you just want to get close to Ying Wan and get some benefits? Although she was selected by the program team, Lin Mei had her own ideas. Look, after spending a day fishing with Wen Su, didn't the program's effect come out? Even without Ying Wan, everyone was having a great time watching it. In fact, Ying Wan's life is really boring most of the time. The viewers who can continue to watch are all here for the pastoral life and her identity. Even if the live broadcast is on, they may not be watching. Lin Mei's effect is quite good. Okay. Even if some fans noticed something was wrong, they probably thought it was their own imagination. Wen Su is such a good person, how could Lin Mei hate him? Lin Mei really hated it, especially knowing that Su Xiao had brought the other manager's idea. She hated it even more. Still want to hype CP? Lin Mei almost died laughing. She was crazy to speculate on CP with Wen Su. Even if the two of them keep interacting now, it doesn't matter. As long as Lin Mei doesn't agree, Wen Su's agent will definitely not dare to make arbitrary claims and speculate on this matter at will. After getting up early in the morning, Ying Wan got up as usual and made breakfast. She saw Lin Mei getting up in high spirits early in the morning and came to ask her if there were any fruits in the back mountain. She could take Wen Su up the mountain to pick wild fruits. Huayang village is in the mountains, and there are fruit plantings in the back mountains. Ying Wan also goes there occasionally, but when she saw Lin Mei going, she couldn't help but wonder, are you going with Wen Su? It's not that she overthinks it, but Lin Mei doesn't look like she can do these things. The mountains behind were mostly slopes, so Ying Wan was afraid that something might happen to them. It's okay. I can't take a grown man like him around. Of course, doing farm work can reflect the beauty of our life. Lin Mei waved her hands and smiled happily. Don't worry, I will pay attention. My own, I'll come back when I'm tired. Ying Wan was silent for a moment and said, you hate Wen Su? Not a question, but an affirmative. After all, her senses were somewhat sharp, and it was too obvious that Lin Mei didn't like Wen Su. This show is essentially a show between her and Lin Mei. Lin Mei should take Wen Su and Ying Wan to get along with each other, but Lin Mei's behavior of dismissing Wen Su yesterday was quite obvious. Certainly. The live broadcast hasn't started yet. Lin Mei admitted frankly, who would like such a scumbag? If it weren't for the request of the program team, I wouldn't want to talk to him at all. He must want to get to know you and hold your lap. Don't do it, it's his fault. I will take him around for activities these days and I won't let him bother you. Although she was doing a show, Yingwan didn't care about it at all. She nodded when she heard this. Whatever you want, just be sensible. Lin Mei nodded. Of course, breakfast time is usually before the live broadcast. Wang Su couldn't keep up with the hot food and it was hard to come over. So he had dinner at Aunt Wang's house early in the morning. As a result, as soon as he arrived at the door of Lin Mei's house after the live broadcast started, he saw Lin Mei breaking through her usual schedule. Wearing an ordinary long coat and carrying a bamboo basket on his back, he looked extremely simple. He smiled at him and said, "Wen Su, let's go pick fruits. There are many in the mountains behind. The wild fruit ones are particularly delicious." Wen Su. It was indeed the beginning of a nightmare. Becoming the richest by farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 408. Wen Su was deceived by Lin Mei and left. Although the barrage effect exploded, no one could understand how broken Wen Su's heart was. Now that the effect of the show is on them, Yingwan naturally calms down. Although there is a camera, the main camera is not there. Sci-Lu watched the video in his villa and found that Lin Mei and Wen Su would most likely be playing on the screen. He licked the tip of his tongue and strode out of the villa. When he walked to the door, there were soft sobs from the program crew. No matter how many times I see it, that face is always shocking. He walked to the door, naturally pushed open the fence door and walked in. Xiao He barked at the door. He entered the yard and saw that De He had been dismantled in half of the mechanical body of the head was exposed, and the wiring inside was very complicated. Sci-Lu looked a little curious. "What are you doing to De He?" Yingwan's naming ability is something Sci-Lu has learned a lot about, and a robot like De He probably has to be able to get up in Wan's name. She still tied her hair up today, but there were a few strands of hair hanging down from the side of her face, making her face look soft and beautiful, which made people's hearts beat fast. She was not surprised when Sci-Lu came in, and said softly, "I made a new chip, and I plan to try it on De He." When this matter was mentioned, Silv's expression became more serious. "New results?" "Not really." Yingwan shook his head. "I still can't figure out the key steps. It's too difficult for AI to enter the autonomous learning stage. I need to have enough time. Now I spend 3 days fishing and 2 days surfing the internet. Of course, the progress is not good. And the student I made an appointment with will not meet me until next year. This is a semi-finished product, which allows De He to have a certain responsibility. It can still search and reply directly through the intelligent thesaurus. The difference is probably that the response is faster than Wan Teng's current intelligent AI. Faster. It's amazing. Let me see the effect." Sci-Lu became interested and naturally pulled out a stool and sat next to Yingwan. Now that there is no live broadcast, he is simply arrogant. The Special Forces team members were still complaining behind their backs, because at least in the past, Sci-Lu was still showing off, but now, when the main camera is not around, everyone is acting openly. Don't treat others as human beings at all. Wen Su's manager was also in the control room of the program team. He saw that this man's face was a little complicated. What is his relationship with academician Ying? Because we are not very familiar with him, everyone still respects Yingwan as he is called her. The suitor. Su Xiao didn't hesitate to answer this, and at the same time glanced at the manager, half smiling but not smiling. "Can't you tell? Broker. This is absolutely terrible. This kind of man would definitely be a troublemaker in the entertainment industry, and I don't know how many women would jump off the building." When it was Yingwan's turn, he was a suitor. As expected, he was an excellent man, So naturally there were a lot of top men who took the initiative to pursue him. Those who can pursue academician Ying are definitely not ordinary people. This person also appeared at the Lorson seminar. Although he is an academician, if this news breaks out, it will become another major gossip in the entertainment industry. Now Ying Wan's traffic is even more terrifying than that of A-list celebrities. However, the agent heard the key point in Ying Wan's words. Wantang? Is academician Ying Wantang's special advisor? Is the thesaurus used or Wantang's intelligent library? This is a bit strange. After all, Wantang is a company. It stands to reason that academicians should use this kind of thing from the state. Su Xiao. That's right, Ying Wan is still Wantang's big boss, this hasn't been revealed yet. It took a lot of time to prepare gifts today. If there are few today, there will definitely be more tomorrow. The gift is for numbers over 20. It seems that there is a lottery for me in reading. It is prepared for everyone. There are no conditions for participation. There are notebooks and dolls. The highest is YSL lipstick. Everyone can draw it when they see it. Good luck to everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 409. How could Su Xiao say anything at this moment? She could only smile and pretend that she didn't hear. After all, Ying Wan's series of resumes had already been a big stimulus to people. Now that she knew that she was still the boss of Wantang Group, she would probably cry bitterly because of the imbalance in her heart. Oh, she has cried enough, and she still cares about this? No one responded to the agent's question. He didn't feel anything wrong at this time. After all, Ying Wan's relationship with Wantang Group was visible to the naked eye. It was one thing to know that she had developed the Nuwa chip, and there might be a close cooperative relationship, but the matter of Wantang boss was too outrageous, and everyone still didn't dare to think about it. After all, Ying Wan was a woman who could make a living by patents. She could have sold the patents to Wantang Group. In the confusion of everyone, Ying Wan had already installed a new chip on Dahe. This was certainly not the Nuwa chip, and the nature was different. It was a simple chip similar to a fast processing program, which was made just to update Dahe. After installing Dahe's head, just turn on the power. If Dahe wasn't a robot, this scene would still look a bit scary. After turning on the switch on Dahe, it didn't move, but its mechanical body stiffened and moved for a while, indicating that it had revived. This time, it didn't say the familiar "Have you eaten?" Instead, it said something with a slightly friendly tone, "Hello." Ying Wan smiled and nodded, "Hello." Si Lu naturally watched from the side, with some interest. Dahe nodded, "What's your name?" "Ying Wan, Ying Wan." Dahe was silent for a while, probably loading this name, and after a while, it asked again, "How old are you?" Ying Wan didn't answer immediately, she looked at Si Lu instead. "What do you think of this reaction ability?" Si Lu answered honestly, "I just think it talks more." Ying Wan. It evolved from asking if you have eaten to asking about household registration information. Seeing that Ying Wan didn't answer, Dahe turned his eyes and looked at Si Lu, "Hello." Si Lu. Dahe was not discouraged, "What's your name?" Feelings are repeated, and if you don't pay attention, you can switch to the next one. Si Lu raised his eyebrows, "Didn't you say you improved its reaction speed?" It just reacts according to the vocabulary in the intelligent library, just like those ordinary ACE you have seen, which can do basic responses. It just wants to communicate with people now. As soon as he finished speaking, Dahe saw that Si Lu ignored him, lowered his head, and saw his only good friend Ziahe. Ziahe was very considerate, swung his tail and barked at Dahe twice on the ground. Dae-hey, what's your name? Zia-hey, Wolf. Dae-hey, Wolf, I remember it, how old are you? Zia-hey, Wolf. Dae-hey, sorry, I don't quite understand what you said. Sci-lu. This thing is indeed a semi-finished product. It looks very much like those perfunctory intelligent products. But in comparison, Dae-hey is a physical entity and can move freely. The people in the program team looked quite surprised. At this moment, Dae-hey stood up with a squeeze. Due to its size, it moved a little when it stood up. Yingwan was sitting in front of it and was caught off guard by the mechanical arm, which rubbed her chin. There was a burning feeling on the chin. Sci-lu saw that something was wrong and tilted his head. His eyes suddenly darkened. I suddenly felt uncomfortable today. I originally planned to update more. I can only apologize. I will definitely update earlier tomorrow. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 410. Did it? Dae-hey is a mechanical arm, and the scratches are not serious, but the skin is also scratched. Because it moves too fast. When Yingwan was covering her chin, Sci-lu took his hand away first. Just when he was jealous of Yingwan's sudden injury, he suddenly heard Yingwan's calm words, "Why is the ability to generate graphics gone?" Dae-hey has a certain degree of avoidance towards objects in front of him. Just like a robot, it will generate an image in its brain of the characters and any objects in front of it. It will most likely have the same visual discrimination as humans and will avoid people and objects. So there will be no action of it colliding with objects. But this scratch was obviously undeserved. It knew that Yingwan was in front of it and should have taken reasonable evasive actions instead of getting up directly. Dae-hey is not a human being. It will not have any panic reaction, so it just plans to get up and walk away normally. It looked like he was going to chase Xiaohe. Sci-lu looked at Yingwan and almost laughed angrily. How could this go wrong? Looking at Dae-hey's eyes again, he seemed to want to tear it apart. Fine. Yingwan waved away Sci-lu's hand and covered her chin, then said to Sci-lu, "Turn off Dae-hey's switch first. It has a performance error now and cannot be turned on." Sci-lu followed her words and immediately locked up Dae-hey. Dae-hey, who had the switch turned off, stood on the spot and suddenly became motionless. When Xiaohe saw it didn't move, he barked at it. Sci-lu turned around and looked at Yingwan again. Now the red scratches were obvious and there was blood oozing out. The porcelain white chin was particularly noticeable. Sci-lu felt his heart tightening. Does it hurt? There was obvious worry in his voice. It doesn't matter if it's just a scratch. She was doing experiments, and her identity was precious, but it was inevitable that she would get injured occasionally when experiments went wrong, and it wasn't the first time. But most of the time she pays attention and is fully prepared for particularly dangerous experiments. Furthermore, most of what she originally dealt with was computer information. Apart from preventing accidents such as equipment leakage or collision and explosion, there was basically nothing else to do. Being scratched by Dae-hey's robotic arm was indeed something I didn't expect. She stood up and said, "There is ointment in my room." Even if she didn't have anything to do, she would always have these things ready for emergencies. Sci-lu stood up and followed her, pursed his lips and darkened his eyes. "I'll help you." When they entered the house one after another, the program team and Suhan and others outside were also shocked. If Suhan hadn't confirmed that Yingwan had a scratch, he would have classified Dae-hey as a dangerous person and rushed forward. I felt relieved when I saw that Yingwan was fine. It's better for them not to appear in the camera unless necessary. Yingwan was suddenly injured here, and it was even more impossible for the camera to move over. The program team was also a little surprised. It doesn't matter if your arm is bruised. Should we go over and take a look? There are people here, I don't think it's a big deal. The director was always paying attention. Although Yingwan was an academician, If it was just a scratch, it would be too much for them to make a big fight. After all, even Yingwan himself said it didn't matter. It was just a scratch, and the most they could do was ask someone to apply ointment. What else can be done? Su Xiao felt relieved when he saw Yingwan immediately telling Si Lu to shut down Dehei. Then he heard the manager next to him say, "This person is very nervous because academician Ying is injured."